Okay, let's dive in. When you picture creativity really flourishing, what image pops into your head? For a lot of us, I think, it's that solitary genius, right? The artist alone in their studio, maybe a writer isolated with their thoughts.
Yeah, that's a really common image. Powerful, kind of romantic.
Exactly. But what if it's actually missing something? Something big about how creativity really works.
Well, that's precisely the question our source gets into for this deep dive.
Okay.
We're looking at an article called Art, Community, and Shared Creation. And it really pushes back on that classic idea.
Challenges it how?
It asks why creating together might actually be more powerful than trying to do it all alone.
Interesting. So our mission here then is to pull out the key ideas. Like, what are the benefits the source sees in creating with others?
Exactly. What are the benefits? How does that collaboration actually function according to the article? And maybe some simple ways it suggests you could actually start doing this.
Right, because it definitely makes you question that myth of the lonely artist.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The source, it doesn't say you don't need individual time, obviously.
Sure.
But it makes this pretty strong case that while maybe the initial spark happens alone, prolonged isolation can strangle creativity.
Strangle it.
Yeah.
Wow. Like it just withers.
Yeah, that's the idea. And on the flip side, it argues that community nourishes it. Helps it really grow.
Nourishes it. I like that. But how does community do that according to this article? What's it doing for the artist?
Well, it lays out a few things that feel pretty profound, honestly. It suggests sharing your creative journey. The actual process is profoundly healing and energizing.
Healing? How so?
Think about it. You might feel vulnerable sharing something personal you made, right?
Definitely.
But the source says that act of sharing becomes a kind of bridge between you and other people.
A bridge. Okay.
And when you share your work, it says you feel genuinely seen. And then seeing other people share their stuff makes you feel less alone in your own struggles.
Okay. So you realize you're not the only one hitting walls or feeling unsure.
Precisely. Maybe you've wrestled with a creative block or a fear. Community shows you you're not alone in that.
That makes a lot of sense. The source also mentions something called gentle accountability. That sounds different.
It really is different. It's not about pressure, like deadlines.
Right. Not that kind of stress.
No. The source frames it more as partnership. It works in a simple way. Just being part of a creative community encourages you to show up.
Because others are showing up too.
Yeah. There's this sort of shared commitment. Knowing someone might gently ask, hey, how's that project going? Or did you manage to write this week? It's just a soft nudge. It encourages you to keep going, turning what feels like an internal battle into something shared. You feel inspired, and if you stumble...
You're not stumbling alone. I think I saw that phrase.
That's the one.
Okay, that feels supportive. But sharing work, doesn't that usually involve critique? You feedback on what's wrong or what needs fixing.
This is a really crucial point the source makes, especially for building these safe, nourishing spaces.
Okay.
It argues that feedback here should uplift, not critique. The goal isn't technical fixing. It's about reflecting the meaning back.
Reflecting the meaning.
Yeah, seeing the heart behind the work. The article gives this great example. Say you share something you wrote or painted. Getting feedback like, your piece made me feel understood, or maybe looking at this gave me a sense of peace I really needed today, that's seen as way more valuable than, technical advice.
Whoa, your piece made me feel understood. That totally reframes what good feedback even is. It's about the connection, not the technique.
Exactly. It's feedback focused on the impact, forging that connection through the art.
So beyond the individual artist feeling better or more connected, what about the bigger picture? Does the source talk about that?
It does. It suggests that when you bring art out of, your private space and to a shared one, its impact multiplies.
Multiplies how?
Talks about creativity and community becoming this powerful way to connect people. Not just to the art itself, the beauty or whatever, but fundamentally to each other.
Connecting people to people.
Yes. And the source even takes it a step further, kind of framing this shared, vulnerable creation in a spiritual light. It mentions that as art connects us to each other like this, in these deeper ways, we see the creator more clearly through that shared humanity, that expression.
Okay, so the core idea here is moving. Moving from that lonely tower image to a shared space. Using your creative work as a bridge, not something to hide.
That's a great way to put it.
And the source is pretty clear this doesn't have to be some huge formal thing, right? It gives simple ways to start.
Oh, absolutely. Really simple, actionable steps, like maybe just sharing a journal entry with one trusted friend. Or starting a really casual creative circle. Maybe people just work quietly alongside each other. Or even, taking that slightly scary step of posting something vulnerable you made online.
Little steps, using the arc itself as the thread.
Precisely. The art connects us.
Which kind of leaves us, and you listening, with this question, maybe a provocative thought from the source. If sharing our creative process really does help us feel less alone, gives us that gentle support, connects us more deeply.
Connects us to each other, maybe even to something bigger.
Right. Then does true creative flourishing actually require being in community in some way? Is that solitary genius model fundamentally incomplete? And maybe more practically, what could shift for you if you decided to take just one of those simple steps? Maybe share just one small thing you've created or are working on this week.